All right. Okay. All right, so episode 23, I believe, of Ironsworn Starforged Vaults of Vaarn, where we will open up on Matala strolling from the safety from where she put Ardell, the unconscious Ardell, who had suffered a major sort of nanobot infestation event, where both him and his ability and his protocol bot have all sort of went on the fritz. And I will say that I believe I touched on it in the previous session, but his health, spirit, and supply are all basically the same for Ardell, but he's unconscious. So in terms of his sort of stats, that's where he's at. And I have said that the only way that he'll awaken is if Matala can do a strong hit heal on him, and that has not happened yet. So Matala is currently trying to get them both to the library for that current quest, that current vow, if you will, to obtain information. And so Matala feels compelled to help Ardell because there's some sort of connection there. But as they come up and she needs to find a place to rest, there happens to be a mystic abode on this hex where there's a dried up river. And so we need to roll up what this mystic abode is here and what their kind of stats are and everything like that. So that's what we're going to do. Mystic abode. Not bandits. Oops. Let's see. Petty gods. We don't need that. Mystic abode. Here we go. All right, so we're going to roll a few d20 rolls to populate this. There we go. I need to get to my page. Here we go. All right, so the scene, I think I'm going to set the scene. So she's trying to continue her journey to the library with an unconscious Ardell. And I think that she spots this abode off in the distance, and knowing that the Fa nomad tribes don't really build structures like this, she feels safe enough to go and approach. So I think so the scene right now, the opening scene, right? The opening scene is Matala striding up to a mystic's abode near the dried up riverbed along her trail toward the rumored library. Still roughly 4 to 5 days travel northeast of here. So that's the scene. I believe okay, so we need to roll up a new mystic abode. And the last mystic that we came up against was Lurch. Did not end up being very useful, was quite unhelpful. So let's see what sort of abode that we have here. Let's roll a d20. A 1, a secluded. That makes sense. A secluded. And let's see the and the science mystic itself, blood drinking cacogen. Interesting. Okay. Abode with a blood drinking cacogen. Now the cacogen are the mutant humans that Ardell himself mistrusts. But right now, Ardell is unconscious and safely near the camp that that Matala set up with the hover bike and the day tent before she came up and approached the secluded abode. And let's see what this person is researching. 16 teleportation. That is researching. Okay. Teleportation. That might be helpful. Teleportation. But wants, and what do they want? 15. An escort. Interesting. An escort to a distant vault. Wants an escort to a distant vault. Interesting. Okay. So this is what they want. Now, our character Matala does not know any of this info. This is just something that we can draw on while we play. My time is not going. Okay. So I think as she approaches and she sees that this is a secluded kind of structure with, I think it's built with sand bricks, from the blue sands. So it kind of blends in, and she almost doesn't recognize it as like a structure until she gets close enough. And indeed, I think she sees this cacogen on the outside of the house, tinkering with some strange device. And Matala's gonna kind of shield her face like in her hood and her scarf, and come up and and ask for help, ask for aid. To mostly, I think she needs some supplies and such to help her basically heal things better. Pardon me. But she's good. I think there is going to be a move here. I think she's trying to approach herself or convey that she is, one, not a threat, and two, needs help. So I think this is a pretty standard just a standard compel to yeah, I think. Well, actually, what she's doing is she's securing she is securing an advantage right now. So I think it's gonna be she wants to talk, and as much as she would like to lie, she's trying to be truthful here. So she's gonna roll heart. And there's not much that she can do to make this better. So she's going to roll heart to sort of convey and gather some better information on who this person is and if there's anything around that could help them in her current situation. She is trying to be, she's not trying to be overt, but she's not lying. So she's leaving out a lot of information. So we will see how this ends up. Okay, a 1, thankfully, on the challenge die, but a 7 as well. But that 1 plus 1 is a 2, which that makes that a weak hit. And a weak hit on a secure an advantage roll is we succeed, but she only gets to do one thing: add +2 momentum. So her momentum would go from 4 to 6, or a +1 on her next move. I think she wants some tactical advantage on finding out what the information is and gaining insight. So I think she's going to take that +1 to her next move. And so I think the information that she currently learns isn't anything helpful outside of stuff that she already knows about the region. She is a fawn nomad scavenger, after all, scout. That kind of is. This is kind of her bread and butter, is finding new areas of the desert of Vaarn to scour and get materials. So that's not out of her purview. She just wanted to see if this cacogen, of which I think we should name, just so we have some let's see, the cacogens. We need a name generator. I know there's a name generator somewhere. We don't have names here. We could, oh yeah, name, here we go. Let's roll a d20. Name is, that's a 9. Jal. The name is Jal. Jal. Okay. So Jal introduces himself, and I kind of want to get a sense of what their general vibe is. And so what I think I'm going to do here is I would like to roll on, let's see. Where is... Okay, so we kind of need like a motivation or like a reaction. And I could use a different book. I could roll a 2d6 table. I've done this before using Ironsworn and Ironsworn Starforged. So I think I'm just going to... This is a secluded individual. It is a a mutant out in the middle of nowhere. He wants something. So I think I'm just going to give this person a likely chance to be helpful. So I'm just going to roll, and anything 75 or less, this person will be helpful. 75. Exactly. Or actually, 57. Dark die first. It's what I naturally go for, so I should try to keep to that. And it's the one thing about, I'll interject here, top-down wise. When you play a game for as long as I've been playing this game for, let's see here. I did not write dates on here, which is really unfortunate. Yeah, I didn't write my starting dates. But my very first video for this series, I probably recorded it about a week or two in advance. So I don't know how long ago I've been playing. But anyway, I lose track of my techniques, if you will. So I can never remember like what I do to keep things consistent. But that's fine. That's fine. Remember, at the end of the day, it's a game, and whenever we want to role play a game, we kind of get lost in, what's the rules versus what's the story. And this system allows me, in the way that I like to play, to be very flexible and things. So I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to just have Jal be helpful in a way that is useful to him, because he wants an escort. And so I think he's going to offer, so you're looking for medical supplies and such. Are you some sort of doctor, or are you some sort of healer? No? And I think like Matala goes, yes, I'm taking care of somebody that needs a lot of healing, and I need to be at my best and with the best supplies to be able to do so. And I think this individual Jal goes, well, I can help, but I also am needing assistance in getting to, well, a location of imports, if you will. Now, this is a situation where I think Jal is trying to convince Matala to help, but Matala can't really give that help since she already needs to deal with an unconscious Ardell. So I think this is going to be a compel move, trying to persuade Jal to just help with what he can without needing this whole escort quest. So she's gonna roll heart here. She could threaten. That's probably not gonna. And she might swindle a little bit and use her shadow, saying that time is of the essence. Of which, if you remember from the previous session, Ardell's condition is dire, but not life-threatening right now. He's stable and he's unconscious, basically in a indefinite sleep state, because Matala was able to stabilize his condition. So she's telling the truth in the fact that he needs care quickly, but it's not life threatening. So it's going to be it's kind of going to be like a lie, sort of, with some truths scattered in there. So she's going to try to compel him to just help out with anything. She's kind of pleading in a little bit. She's not used to dealing with people so directly, so she's kind of, depending on how this goes. Okay, all right, we got a 3 and a 2 on the challenge die, and a 6 plus her shadow is 2, so 7. So that's a strong hit. On a strong hit, they'll do what you want or agree to your conditions. Take +1 momentum. So first, I'm gonna add 1 momentum to her, so she goes from 4 to 5. And I think what happens is Jal sort of acquiesces the fact that, it's hard to convince a brand new person to go on an epic quest to a undisclosed location so quickly, and decides to allow Matala to essentially stock up, and shows her inside to his like scientific abode. And like we said, he's researching teleportation and all of this stuff. And he has not shared this in particular, but the fact that she's in there able to gather stuff, I think this will allow her to sort of gather some information, and I think she's going to investigate this house. And this is more of like a passive check, where I don't think the fail state on this is less impactful on the overall story, but will allow her to be able to kind of glean the information, as Jal has acquiesced the use of his abode, but has not openly wanted to share any sort of information of what he's up to. Because honestly, teleportation sounds like a really interesting thing to have access to, as Matala and Ardell are trying to traverse a long distance to somewhere, and maybe teleportation might be helpful. So this is just her gathering information, and she's going to roll wits, and her wits is 2, so it shouldn't be too bad. Let's see what happens here. Okay, that does not sound good. 7 and 8 on the challenge die. 2 plus 2 is 4. So as far as she knows, it's just some weird stuff in this place, and she does understand that the mystic abode, the mystic scientists are just strange individuals anyway. And she is shown to a few cupboards with bandages and other ointments and various other medical type of things. I don't think it needs to be a roll here. I think this is more of she was able to compel, and that momentum just enables her to better be prepared for the next time that she needs to heal Ardell. And speaking of Ardell, does she want to hang out here, or does she just need to go back and carry on? I think she's learned everything that she wanted to learn here, as much as I, the player, would have loved for her to figure out more things. But that is on Stillwater. There we go. Stillwater is the dried up riverbed. It's called Stillwater. Okay. So she heads back to Ardell, thanks the individual gel for helping and giving her some supplies. And he gets back onto the bike, or rather comes up to Ardell and decides to try to roll healing again. So she gets +1 on this, and I just want to, I think it's roll her, because she is who she is. The healing to heal. Mend, obtain, provide care is roll wits, and her wits is 2, so she gets a +3 on this. Yes, so she's gonna roll a +3 on this heal roll, and let's see, 7 and 3 are the challenge, but 6 plus 3 is 9. That's a strong hit. So that is 1 success. So wake on strong hit heal. That is 1 success. So that is 1. Matala successfully mended the energies surrounding Ardell's mind. Now, I think this looks a little strange because she is used to dealing with more, healing, like physical healing effects, like broken bones and cuts and scrapes and various things like that. But over the last couple of weeks, she's learned how to deal with weird things, sees weird things happening, and so she taps into her, her innate sort of ability, but then feels the fact that there's the nanobots that are inside Ardell, and sort of like retasks them to heal and to reconfigure and to mend the connections in Ardell's mind and the protocol bot Ziva, and she succeeds in that. So that is 1 success down. So we have two that she needed to do, and so she feels really good about that. And I think we hear Ardell's sort of like moan and kind of toss a little bit, a little uncomfortable, but showing signs of life a lot more than just a dead sleep. And now I think she needs to continue to journey to the library, so she's going to continue to make some headway and push on through on the hover bike. She loads herself, the tent, and Ardell onto the bike, and she is going to make it. She's going to make some speed, so she's going to roll +1 with edge, so it's a +4 to this roll, and we will see what happens here. And this is just the undertake an expedition, rolling with edge, rolling at speed. So +4, whoo, that's a good thing. So that's a 5. That's still a weak hit. You reach a waypoint, envision the location, and mark progress. So we're going to mark 2 boxes worth, because that's the progress amount on our journey to the library. And we reach a waypoint, which I will roll up here in a second. But the progress costs us. We suffer costs en route, or we face a peril at the waypoint. I think at this point, I think the journey is going to take longer than than was necessary. So I think she's going to suffer 2 -1. I think she's going to suffer a -1 on the supply and go from 3 to 2, and -1 on her health. And I think at that point, the health is mostly due to the strain of driving, through the dry desert, and she probably went a day without water, and felt sick, and that kind of thing. So it just, her health went down a little bit. But she enters into a new area. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to go on the let's see here. Let's roll up a new area and see what is there. We're gonna go to, I really should just mark, not an NPC, not the weather, region generator table. There we go. So we need to roll up a new hex. Since we made some good progress, let us create a new what do you call, path. All right, so let's roll that d20. And landscape, let's roll a landscape. 14. Windswept plateau. Okay, so this is a plateau. So windswept plateau. How do you spell plateau? Windswept. Sometimes I wish my brain would slow down while I am writing. Plateau. Windswept plateau. All right. Location name or type. 18. There's a wreck here. Okay. Varnish wreck. Okay, so that is something that is interactable on this place. So we have so that's 6 days travel. All right. Ooh, pardon me. My brain just did a what was I doing thing. Ardell tosses a little bit on the end of this one particular day, in the campsite that Matala has gotten used to making. And it's been another couple of days, and she finds a nice sort of campsite alongside of a trail that goes upside this plateau, and they're not quite at the top. And because the path that goes around the plateau is strewn with rocks and debris, and it's hard to traverse, but she saw that there was a footpath that goes up from the sandy desert up along the cliffside, relatively easy, and she was able to drive slowly up the side with the hover bike, and was able to find a campsite almost at the top of the cliff side, almost at the top of the plateau, rather. So I think here she is going to find a good spot, and she's going to attempt to next area, the windswept plateau campsite. Okay, so we're gonna have her do another healing session, and so she is gonna attempt to heal some more. Okay, a 1 and a 3 on the challenge die, and a 3 plus her 1 plus her wits, so that's a 6 total on the action die. So that's a strong hit. That's another strong hit. So I think this looks like this. So awaken on strong heal. And that was the second one of 2 that is needed to heal Ardell's mind. So I think it looks something like this. Ardell was placed next to a little bubbling spring. That was also on the other side of him was a small campfire that she was working on, and he was tossing and turning in his sleep, like unable to fully rest. And so she comes over here, puts her hands on his head, and sort of channels that healing energy that she taps into from Ardell. And he sort of blinks his eyes and opens them, sees a Matala hovering over him, upside down, in his vision, and is all groggy and is kind of like out of it, and asks, "Where are we? What happened?" And pardon me. And I think Ardell is very confused. So I think what I'm gonna do is, I think his health is gonna go from 5 to 4, mostly just to be like he's not at full health anymore, but he has been woken up. He's a little on the discombobulated side. So also I think his spirit is also going to go down. Now all these mechanic things I'm doing, these are not in direct relation to any sort of move that happened or an action that happened because of Matala, it's healing. I think this was more of the effect of being basically unconscious for about 4 to 5 days total, 4 days total. And I personally have been unconscious for an extremely long time, and when you come to, it's very discombobulating. It's very kind of what happened, and you're very confused. So both your body and your mind are a little foggy and a little strained, and you're weak. So that being said, health and spirit are down by 1, and he can't well up any energy. He can't well up any of his fiery energy. And then he tries to tap into, he has a mild panic. He tries to tap into Ziva, his protocol bot, and there's no communication, because mechanically Ziva is battered and needs to be fixed before they can be used again. And because Ziva is battered, he does not have access to the Firebrand ability, of which that's how I narratively hooked both the Firebrand path and the protocol bot being together. So it might be different for other people. This is just something interesting for me. So I think that while Ardell Santos is obviously very happy to be up and around, it might take him a bit to sort of gather his energies back. So right now I have both the Firebrand ability and his protocol bot sort of just unavailable, and right now he can really only rely on his ability to find information on relics and stuff like that in making a new quests and stuff. So I think they have a moment of like quiet reflection and quiet conversation about what had happened over the past couple of days, and their plan. And Ardell asks if they're still going to the library, and I think she definitely says, "Of course," because I know that is something that you wanted to do. So I'm here to help. I'm glad that you're up and about. It's going to take you a bit to be at your full strength. We are running low on supplies, and I keep forgetting that they share supplies as a group, so they both should be at 2 supply at the same time. We are running low on supplies once again. We seem to be woefully unprepared sometimes, and I really don't like that. And that's what Matala shares to Ardell, and Ardell echoes the sentiment and says, "I agree." Is there anywhere around that we can find something useful? And little do they know is that once they crest the ridge of this plateau, they will see a wreck that they'll be able to scavenge, hopefully. So I think they both go to sleep, and they're gonna just attempt to rest. And they have a campsite on top of a plateau. I'm gonna roll on a campaign clock here for being watched with Matala. I'm going to remind myself on the campaign clocks again, because I keep forgetting because I don't use them all that often, and sometimes I just make new tension clocks. There we go. 238. 232. Okay. Advancing. When you begin a session, okay. If the end feel okay. Stopping rival campaign clocks, blah blah blah. Okay, tension clocks setting advancing as you pay the price or encounter a complication. So this is more of a campaign clock, not a tension clock. Okay. So being watched, I'm going to roll, and I think this is unlikely, or rather a small because I'm making a roll, I think I'm going to make this unlikely. So right now it's a 25% chance, so 25 or less, she is being watched. 54, so no. So 54, so this campaign clock for being watched for Matala will not be filled. So, as they find restless sleep that night, I think Ardell is feeling a little worse for wear, and before he goes to sleep, he wants to thank Matala somehow. So I think he wants to make something, and he looks through his supplies and the area around him, and I think he takes a short walk in the middle of the night while Matala is sleeping, and he crests the ridge, and he spots the varnished wreck, of which I'm going to roll. Not that. Let's So the Varnish Wreck. Varnish Wreck is page 87. Okay, so we're gonna roll up to see what kind of wreck it is. Varnish Wreck. I'm hoping there's something that will be here that will be helpful to them. 8. Ornithopter. Okay. Hegemony Ornithopter. The Hegemony is a faction in the Vaults of Vaarn book that is the language of bureaucracy, taxation, and stuff like that. And the Hegemony are basically the faraway leaders of the Sands of Vaarn. And this is an ornithopter, and it's a crash. So this might be a scout from the lands far away. So let's roll for the condition. 8. It is cloven in 2. Ooh. In 2. And original cargo that was, oops, that's cocked. 3. Water. Okay, interesting. Traces of water around the site. And the cause of the wreck, 10. Ooh, biotech infestation. Interesting. So, cause of wreck, biotech infestation. So that tells me this biotech infestation reminds me a lot like what happened with Ardell Santos, and his issues with his implant slash nanomachine bot and his ability. So he spots this ornithopter, spliced in 2, with bundles of sacks of water and spilled things out. And it's in the middle of the night, and he doesn't really want to deal with anything yet. So he notes that it's there, and it's about a 20-minute walk away from camp. And he turns around and heads back to camp and sleeps the rest of the night. I think in the morning, Matala is going to attempt to heal again out in the wild. I believe it's a separate roll, a move. I think she wakes up and sees that they're both not doing great, and she wants to sort of socialize a bit and trying to she wants to provide treatment. So she's going to roll wits +1, so it's a +3 total. So she's trying to heal Ardell first, and hopefully that'll help. Okay, 5 + 3 is 8. So that is going to be a 7 and 4 on the challenge die with a 8 total on the action. So that is a strong hit. Strong hit, you give +3. Yeah. Oh, cool. So with that, I think she's going to be able to heal them both with that. So she goes, heals him from 4 to 5, heals herself from 4 to 5. And I think I think Ardell is obviously very thankful for that, and they grab some jerky and the various types of like travel food that they've been able to store, and Ardell shares, "Hey, there's a I think there's a hegemony like ornithopter uh, up on the plateau there. It's just off of the beaten path. It's about 20 to 30 minute walk, I believe, maybe a little bit more. I didn't want to venture too far away from camp. Hopefully, we'll find some more supplies here." And I think Matala just brightens at that prospect as a nomad explorer scout. This is her thing. She loves to go to wrecks and to scavenge, and so I think she goes up there, or she tells like Ardell, "This is great news. Hopefully, we can find some more things to stock up on and resupply, and get some more parts to maybe we can help, and you can repair your broken." And like Metallo doesn't quite fully understand the dynamic between the protocol bot and Ardell. So she kind of points to the side of his head and says, "Your brain device, you can maybe fix that with the stuff that we find." So they make their way up, and it is kind of a brightish morning. And I think I also want to roll the weather for today as well. Weather on morning of wreckage exploration. So, what is the weather? I'm gonna go to this, and we're starting here. We're gonna roll a d6, 2, straight up. So it's hazy. So as a reminder, hazy is air is still, but mists of lurid hue hang over the desert. Visibility is impaired, and landmarks cannot be seen from a distance. Vigilance checks are made with disadvantage. So basically, any of their wits rolls to see things from afar aren't going to be as useful, I think. So it's hazy, which means distant locations obscured vision. Okay. So they come up to the wreckage, and the Metallo starts to like give Ardell some general sort of tips and tricks on finding ways to search the area. So she's gonna resupply or gather information. I think she's gonna take point, and I think resupply is what she wants to do. So resupply is rolling scavenging, so it's wits. So she gets +1 on this, so she gets a +3 on this roll, and let's see how well she does. Oh, a 6 and a 7. Every time that the resupply stuff happens with her, she has not been doing well. This has been kind of what's been happening lately. So on a miss, you take no comfort, and the situation worsens. So I think in the terms of the scavenged wreck being a hegemony ornithopter, being cloven in two, she's trying to find various parts, and there's just nothing there. But something bad happens, and I think it is going to be related to that biotech infestation, where I believe because Ardell is around and Matala is around. Matala doesn't have any gear on her specifically that's like high tech or anything like that. Ardell does, and also still has Ziva as well. I think what's going to happen here is I think that there's going to be a direct sort of attack on Ardell, and I think to pay the price here is that he might have to. I think it's going to be a -1 harm to his health. So I think that's what happens here is that he goes down to 4 because he gets zapped with some weird sort of reactionary infestation thing that is connecting to his network, his neural network, and he doesn't understand what happened. He was like rifling around some flasks of water and things like that, but they all ended up being empty, and the sand, the packed sand and dirt and rocks on top of this plateau, it's windswept, so none of the water survived. There's no puddles. It's all just kind of damp rock anymore. So there's no usable waters, no usable supplies or anything. And he was putting something back, and then something probably connected through his hand or some place that his bare skin and the biotech infestation kind of re-triggered that sort of fritz that first happened. But his body doesn't really have any working tech to fire, but he still has the neurons and the connections between the bot and his brain, and it further just damages him, and he kind of blanks out a bit, and I think at this point he's going to understand what this is. Up until this moment in the story, I didn't know if Ardell was going to truly understand if his character was going to like what this infestation was about. But I think he's going to put 2 and 2 together and realize that his body's being attacked by the nanobots of the sand. And I think he is. I'm going to add this knows about nanotech, knows about and biotech interactions. So that way he actually understands his abilities and stuff better. But because his abilities are basically offline, all the connections between his abilities, the protocol bot Ziva, and him, there's nowhere for the energy, the infection energy to go besides him. Ziva and his firebrand ability cannot activate. They're basically dead ends for that infestation. So the infestation comes in and then just hurts Ardell's biomatter physically. So that's the narrative explanation why he loses a health. Very long-winded, I understand, but that's just the way I explain things sometimes. Okay. So I think that's pretty much all that happens here. They don't find anything useful at this juncture. And I think at this point, we need to have them continue on. And Ardell goes, we got to get out of here. This is not a safe place for me. So I'm actually going to write on this this wreckage plateau, nanotech, there we go. Okay, So we're going to have them make another exploration roll, journey to the library, up here. And we're going to have Ardell is in control now. He is back at the wheel. He feels better. He is going to tell Matala to hop on, and he puts his foot onto the skiff, and it looks a little worse for wear. He looks at their dwindling supplies and says to Matala, let's get out of here. We got to get up to that library. Hopefully they'll have some information for me. And let's get going. All right. Ooh, Jesus. A 4 and an 8 on the challenge die. A 1 on the action die. Plus a 4. So, well, 3 wits plus the 1 on the hover bike. So that is a 5. So that turns a miss into a weak hit. So a weak hit for undertake an expedition, I believe, is progress cost us. So we do reach a waypoint and mark progress. So we do find a new area and get closer to our destination. But we face a peril, or we suffer some things. And I think at this point, I think they're gonna suffer 2 minus 1. So I think Ardell is gonna minus 1 spirit, and Matala is gonna minus 1 spirit mechanically. But narratively, I think it's that the while they're going down the plateau, realizing that the entirety, and I mean the entirety of the Varnish landscape is completely covered in nanomachines are inside everything. And it's normal to see wild animals with cameras growing out of their flesh, or humans with parasitic artificial limbs. And no one can agree on how that started, but that's just the way things are. And Ardell has been hard pressed to find anything good about them after his nanobot kind of bio collapse. And ever since he woke up, it's just been one thing after another of things that are going bad. He couldn't find supplies, and the nanotech biotech infestation is affecting his personage. And so he looks down while he's traveling at the blue sands, starting to see the desert itself, the desert of Vaarn itself, as a no-go zone. He really, really needs to get off this rock. So I'm going to leave it there with him in contemplative mode, with a Matala behind him, with her goggles on, staring out off in the distance, sort of thinking on herself on how best that she can aid this troubled Truekin on his journey to wherever he's going, and where that takes her. But we will pick up on that next session with them traveling through the plateau hex, hopefully into the next hex that has the library, and we will see what they find at the library. But until next time, folks, I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.